Oi, oi, right, how's it going? I'm Grant, you're you. This is the Doodle Review coming through with another end of year list. This is the second entry in a series that's going to take you through the best of the year. We just had top 10 rock. Today it's top 10 pop and R&B records. The rules are that these are my top 10 honorable mentions of the year. These are the records in this genre that are great or super enjoyable, but didn't quite make the main list, which is my top 50 albums of the year list, which is coming very soon. So if you see this top 10 and you think something's missing, something that should be in here, just keep locked into this channel over the next couple of days because the top 50 is definitely coming. Before we get into it, just to let you know, I have playlists for every best of list you'll see in this channel. There's a Spotify playlist linked in the description that takes you from 10 to 1, as well as quarterly playlist that covers a song from every single album I listened to during each 3-month period this year. They're all sequenced into hours and hours worth of music, so check them out. All right, let's get into it. So I'm kicking things off with Cowboy Carter. Back in March and before every Beyoncé release, I found myself hating the publicity around the record. Just find the lead up constantly slaps you in the face with the importance of the upcoming LP. While I absolutely agree that Cowboy Carter is important and in fact deserving of the prestige it's handled with, it would just be kind of nice to discover that for yourself. It also kind of creates the impression that the album just isn't going to be very fun. Yes, American Requiem is staggering in its lyrical themes, arrangement, production, vocal performance, instrumental, just at every level. And the cover of, Blackbird is beautifully poignant. I don't disagree, but approaching the record, I kind of was like gearing up for like something super heavy that was going to be a real slog to get through. And then was completely surprised by things like Bodyguard, Spaghetti, Ya, Desert Eagle, and Riverdance. I suppose Texas Hold'em was a fun preview, but the endless think pieces kind of overtook the music for a while. So it was a nice surprise to hear it. And the production of this record is unbelievable, particularly how the acoustic guitars and live instrumentation are recorded. It's just natural and really close sounding. Every percussive hit of the guitar body or finger pluck feels like it's in the room. Beyonce's vocals themselves are also just unparalleled. This is an incredible piece of work from Beyonce. Why is it number 10 on my honorable mentions list and not top of the main list? Honestly, it could probably easily make the top 50 albums of the year list. Is that good? But the factor I always try and incorporate into my list making is how re-listenable the project is. How much enjoyment do I get from it? And how often am I going to go back to it? And I found Cowboy Carter has instantly gone into that category of classic for sure. It's good, but I'm just hardly ever going to listen to it. And it's an incredible piece of work, but I just haven't been going back to it very much at all. So it sits here at number 10. Hiatus Kyote is a band I kind of have a love-hate relationship with. On one hand, their brand of fluid funk recalls the legendary music of D'Angelo in his voodoo era. On the other, sometimes that fluidity sees them rely more on hooks that are implied rather than implicit. And on one hand, their incredible musicianship that locks the band into the pocket is hella impressive. But on the other hand, the constant syncopation can be a bit exhausting. Love Heart Cheat Code demonstrates a bit of all of these things, but for me, it is a step up in enjoyability compared to their previous, which was Mood Valiant. The title track, Telescope, and Make Friends address my previous complaints with distinct hooks and melodies and riffs, all without losing any of that beautiful fluidity or being any less in the pocket. Irreverent stuff like Long Cat still gets old a little fast for me, but on the whole, this is really enjoyable. And Cinnamon Temple actually even introduces some experimentation with a grittier, harsher sound, which is something I'd love to hear the band do more of in the future. I've been following Omar Apollo for a while, and I'm convinced he's gonna deliver like a Frank Ocean level classic at some point. The first half of God Said No, released earlier this year, had me super excited that he just might have gone and done it. On this record, Apollo exhibits a stronger sense of self than his previous work and continually demonstrates his great ear for dynamic instrumentals that are warm and inviting, but a little offbeat. The first six tracks, like I say, the first half of this record absolutely kills it. We open with Be Careful With Me, a stripped back lo-fi acoustic instrumental that builds atmosphere with interesting melodies and a simple but effective chorus hook. This gives way to a bit more of a crunchy neo-funk style track in Spite, with one of the strongest choruses on the album, one of the best pop choruses of the year, in fact. And after this, we jump into a new wave 80s disco beat on Less of You. Then to a classy throwback R&B track with horn strings and electric bass, and we round out the six-track run with an effective piano ballad with a powerful lead vocal turn from Apollo, and then finally Drifting, an almost 2000s down-tempo track, the instrumental of which could fit on a Roixop album. Sadly, I feel the rest of the record kind of trails off with a lot of slower ballads, which are fine in isolation, but feel a bit overwrought and a bit whiny and a bit blah by the time it's over. So this isn't quite the classic I know that we're going to get from Apollo at some point, but it's a great pop record nonetheless. Nubiyan Twist are a 9-piece fusion band from Leeds in the UK, bringing together Afrobeat, jazz, and R&B. And on this album, they've really pulled out all of the stops to create an exciting and consistent album experience. Joining the band full-time for this record is Sheffield-based singer Aziza J, who provides fantastic vocals throughout, adapting to any style, be it the smooth R&B sound of the opener, Battle Isn't Over, the mellow disco of the Nile Rodgers featuring Lights Out, or even the patois needed for a bit of dancehall on So Me Stay. Towards the end of the record, there are some moments that don't sound as good as I imagine maybe they did during the writing process. The central riff in Find Your Flame recalls a one-arm bandit slot machine hitting like 777s, and that sound screams to me like a little nugget that's been stumbled upon during the writing process when doing something else that someone in the band felt compelled to kind of build a whole song around. Ultimately, the idea of it is better than the reality, but this is a really minor point. The album is really enjoyable from start to finish. If you're looking for something upbeat, something fun and danceable, you should get into this. And I really want to try and look out and see these guys live next year at some point. NxWorries is a collaboration between R&B, soul, hip-hop fusion drummer, singer, and songwriter Anderson .Paak and Knowledge, a prolific producer and beat maker who, according to Wikipedia, has a discography longer than the phone book of a small city. The fusion of smooth R&B grooves and rhymes from Paak with the hip-hop production of Knowledge, like 86 Centra, Distractions, and From Here, really deliver on the promise that a collab from these artists makes. And the album as a whole has been up there as one of the strongest LPs in this sort of R&B genre that I've actually heard in 2024. Daydreaming, despite its OTT guitar solo in the later stages, and a fantastic groove filled ballad that joins songs like Move On, Walk On By, and Distant Space. There are a couple of Dilla-esque beat instrumentals that sound great, but are a little out of place on the already long record. But if you found yourself in love with Paak's Silk Sonic collaboration with Bruno Mars a couple years back, this record would serve as the wind down from that album's like party spirit in the best kind of way. At number 5, we're talking Matt Champion. He's a solo artist formerly of the boy band rap collective Brockhampton. Being that he was actually one of the strongest rappers in that group, I was quite surprised that by and large this is not a rap album. Mika's Laundry is pretty weird, and I mean that in the best kind of way. It's a weird fusion of modern R&B, indie folk, country at certain points, and 80s funk pop with occasional spells of hip hop. Slug is the absolute banger here. The song is bookended by these almost like Wii Sports kind of soundtrack segments, but in between is a huge falsetto hook from Champion, which runs over the top of some classic bouncing, octave hitting disco bass guitar runs. On paper, there's no reason it should work right next to the kind of deconstructed folk and R&B cuts around it in the track listing, and yet it does. My full review on this, I was quite high on the album. I gave it like an 8.9, and I have to say that buzz has worn off a little, but it's still a super interesting, super weird, a very dynamic pop R&B indie funk fusion. It's hard to pin down, and on that basis is definitely worth your time checking out. KAYTRANADA now. This is the third album from the R&B meets house meets electronica producer. And it's a bit all over the place. I don't know that he's been able to maybe recapture the charm of that very homemade feeling crossover debut 99.9%. But over the course of this year and sporadic re-listens I've made, it has proven to be a bit of a grower. Call You Up and Dance, 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 Dance are some cool throwback examples of the old school homemade warm sampled sounds KAYTRANADA became known for, with squashed like distorted drums and crunchy high pass synths. The album scatters these among Dilla-esque hip-hop joints like Spit It Out and Lux sounding R&B jams like Still, which kind of exemplifies the messy feel of the record. But while there are tonal shifts and uneven moods and unnecessarily long track lists, and they might hold it back, this is still highly listenable. Justice returned this year with Hyperdrama, and to freshen things up, brought in a lot of collaborators, which paid off really, really well. The record opens with first of two Kevin Parker features called Never Ender, and immediately you're like, oh yeah, this collaboration just makes sense. Parker's voice works so well up against the tight vacuum sealed drums, both filtered and muffled, wide and double tracked. It has a great earworm melody too, and the next one from them is a little darker, a little harder. It's called One Night All Night, but it has an even catchier hook, and the combo with these edgy synths works super well. Throughout the record, Justice jump from these kind of catchy funk disco cuts to darker electronic soundscapes, which could come across as inconsistent. The leap from pleasant Tame Impala Never Ender to the intensity of Generator is a bit of a head spinner, but the emphasis on groove is such that it kind of works throughout. My favorite track is the Thundercat Miguel featuring Saturnine, which has a really fun, needly guitar riff as its main hook, just made all the better with Miguel's buttery smooth falsetto. The track's a masterclass in building the anticipation around that really simple hook, making the verses really quiet and dropping out enough so that when it slams back in, it's a huge crowd pleaser, much like the album as a whole. In the number 2 spot, I wanted to give it up to an album that I've seen go pretty unnoticed by music culture at large, which is surprising because it's from a huge artist, but I think this is just how we wanted it. Credited to a group called Virginia and called Black Yacht Rock Volume 1 City of Limitless Access, the record was quietly posted by none other than Pharrell Williams earlier this year, and just one listen to the vocals will tell you this is unmistakably his work. The album's still not on Spotify. You have to stream it on its own website or download the files like old school style. But I think it's worth it. In lieu of any real details, it's probably helpful that the album title is so descriptive. In fact, I go so far as to say the album should probably just be called City of Limitless Access, and Black Yacht Rock should be like the genre label, because if you wanted to classify these 10 tracks, that is pretty spot on. The record is a fantastic fusion of easy breezy, lightweight jazz rock a la Steely Dan, America, Doobie Brothers or Michael McDonald, with the deep R&B hip hop grooves that Pharrell has built his career on. It doesn't completely feel like a throwback either. One of the most interesting things about Virginia is how it frames this potentially quite retro style in a modern context. Tracks like Dandelion would feel comfortable within that whole kind of Tame Impala, Lil Yachty, Let's Start Here vibe. And a few times across the record, Pharrell chucks in auto-tune ad-libs that absolutely are like tipping the hat to Travis Scott. While the yacht rock vibe sometimes takes Pharrell in a bit of a twee direction that isn't really for me, the whole album, like the musicality, wins me over. The track Ball is probably the best example of this. The song has a beautiful melody through its verse and pre-chorus, but then in the chorus the song just takes flight with these thick harmonized vocals and pizzicato string runs that rise as a counter melody to like a descending voice. It's pure pop bliss. This is a really unique collection that I wanted to give a shout out, so hopefully more people can hear it. Do yourself a favor, look it up, stream it, download it. I don't think you'll regret it. Okay, and at number 1, we're putting the long-awaited album from Peggy Gou. She's been headlining the dance tent at festivals for a number of years now, and this is her first LP of original music. It's probably worth putting the word original there in air quotes, not to cast any shade or to diminish what Goo has achieved here, but more because, like a great DJ set itself, each song on this record feels like an amalgamation of lived in familiar parts, whether that's back to one with everyone's favorite kind of component, the Space Jam big orchestra, or big organ, or 7 seconds of all that, or the super familiar organ riff of Lenny Kravitz, I Believe in Love Again. The biggest tune here, though, is the fast-paced Euro house track. It goes na 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 na. Not only does it have an earworm of that vocal hook, but it gives us a faux guitar keyboard with a pitch bend that echoes ATB's mega 2000s hit Till I Come. This is definitely the record's peak, and it never quite scales those heights again, but every subsequent track is still enjoyable. And because Goo is endlessly, not quite sampling, but I'll say quoting styles and hits from dance music of the past 30 years, it's always comforting, even if it is maybe a little bit derivative. What Goo has set out to achieve, and what I believe she's accomplished, is to envision the album format as a DJ set, playing only hits that just didn't happen to exist yet. This is a really fun record. What it lacks in originality, it makes up for in succinct, well executed, reliable bangers. And it's just a pure fun throwback club pop banger. And that's why it's going at the top spot. All right. So there you go. These are my top 10 pop and R&B honorable mentions of 2024. But don't forget to come back for the main top 50 albums of the year, which is going to hit in a couple of days. Subscribe so you don't miss out. Check out all of the playlists and all of the other reviews linked in the description. Other than that, nice one, mate. Mind how you go. Take care. Cheers, then. Bye.